So today we're going to talk about new assessment instruments that we can use in our early childhood program. These are going to be assessment tools for assessing the quality of our program, assessing our students, and how we're going to assess ourselves as educators. I want you to take a few minutes in your groups and I want you to discuss what you think the purpose of assessment is. I want you to reflect on what we currently use as assessments and what you think our needs of assessments should be. And I want you to think about this quote from this meme over in the corner that says, "I was inspired by an amazing pack of worksheets in elementary school that totally changed my life," said no kid ever, or no child ever. All right, so now that we've discussed that in our groups, we're going to look at the purpose of assessment. The purpose of assessment is to gather information from a variety of sources and use this information to evaluate and identify the strengths, the needs, and the progress of programs, students, and teachers. Our current needs are authentic assessment practices, efficient, effective, and comprehensive assessment practices. For our program quality assurance, we're going to start utilizing leadership and support, qualified teachers, professional development, coaching and monitoring, guidelines either from the Office of School Readiness or from the state, short and long-term goal setting, comprehensive research-based early childhood curriculum, and an ongoing commitment to classroom quality. So to assess our program, I thought that we could reflect on the 10 standards from NAEYC. And while we are a public school system and we're going to be talking about pre-K through second grade, and we really can't be certified through NAEYC, we can model our program after those 10 standards. We can also use the ECHRS and the SACERS environmental rating scales. ECHRS is more of the early childhood environmental rating scale, and SACERS is the school age care environmental rating scale. This is going to relate to the space and furnishings in our classroom, our personal care routines, language and literacy activities, learning activities, our interactions, our program structure, and we're going to talk about it a little more on the next slide. So for ECHRS and SACERS, it talks about the space and furnishings. If you look in this classroom over here, it's mine from a couple of years ago. It was Christmas. We had our home living area here. It was decorated like a gingerbread house. There was one way in and one way out. 4 students could be in at a time, and there was a little card that indicated how many students could go in at a time. Students were able to choose which center they wanted to go to out of 21 in the classroom, and so long as it wasn't full, they could enter it and put their clothespin on that card. We had like a little cozy library / listening center. We had some language and literacy activities and fine motor skills over here. Our whole group happened here. There was art, there was science, and so forth. And that's, it's talking about personal space too. We need to make sure that each child has their own space for some privacy, that there's space for gross motor activities. There's the appropriate indoor space and the appropriate outdoor spaces, and that the room is arranged according to our center and learning activities. Health and safety, those are things that we're already doing. Are the students washing their hands when they come in the mornings? Are they washing them when they come in from the playground and before they eat? Do we have a way to take attendance? And that's not just in the morning, but that's, during every transition in and out of the room, to make sure that we have everybody stay with our group. And that we have emergency procedures in place. The activities of the room, are there areas for all of the domains, art, building, fine motor, library, math, language, sensory, and so forth. We'll talk a little bit more about these domains when we talk about how we're going to assess our students. It looks at, these rating scales look at the interactions between the students and the teachers, and the communication that's going on in the classroom, and our discipline procedures. And to me, discipline procedure goes into program structure, the scheduling, providing that consistent routine. It's going to cut down on a lot of behavioral issues because the students know what to expect at each point of the day. So maintaining a regular schedule, providing the students with lots of choices about the activities, and using community resources, and then also staff development, things such as professional development opportunities, faculty meetings, and engagement. So what should assessment look like for young children? Assessment should be as authentic as possible. When we're assessing students, we can use observation, we can use anecdotal records, we can use checklists, we can use their finished products, we can take pictures of it, we can write down what we see, what they say, but it should be completed during real life activities that the students are involved in. Assessment should be conducted in a variety of ways and in a variety of settings: large group, small group, individual students. Assessment should be continuous and ongoing. Assessment should be used to inform our lessons and activities, and that kind of reminded me of this little cartoon down at the bottom. One little boy says, "I've taught Snoopy to whistle," and the other one says, "I can't hear him." And the other one said, "I said I taught him, not that he learned." So it's just really important that we are assessing what we're doing in the classroom to make sure that we're being as effective as we need to be and that the students are learning everything that they can. But most importantly, assessment should not halt the learning process. So many times people get wrapped up on how students are going to do on some standardized test at the end of the year, and that's not what our assessment should be. Our assessment should be used to not only assess where the students are, but to drive our instruction and what we're going to plan for the students for as a follow-up. So for assessments, we're going to start using Teaching Strategies Gold. And I just want to pause right here to let you know that this is just a brief introduction to some of the things that we're going to start implementing. Don't worry, we're going to dive in and, start learning a lot more about it. I'm going to be here as a support for you. So while it was going to look like a lot of changes, these are things that we're already going to do, that we're already doing. But these assessment tools are more geared for early childhood, and they're just really going to help us shine and show us where our strengths are and how we can build on those strengths. So for the Teaching Strategies Gold, it is a system. It's a computerized system where you can assess students. So it's really convenient because you can start building portfolios online and tracking the growth of your students. They're going to be assessed in 38 different objectives covering 10 areas of development. Those areas of development include social emotional, physical, cognitive, language, literacy, mathematics, science and technology, social studies, the arts, and it also has a section for English language acquisition. A little more about Teaching Strategies Gold. And like I said, don't worry about, knowing everything now. It takes some time, and we're going to dive in further, and have a lot more professional development about it. But, while the students are engaged in learning activities, you can take pictures of them, you can write notes, you can open up the Teaching Strategies Gold app right then and there and record some things. You should use brief descriptions that are objective and factual. It has a place where you can check the objectives that you saw. And then there's a rating scale. It starts at birth. It goes all the way through 3rd grade. It progresses in the colors of the rainbow. So the light red and orange is more birth through 2. And then 3 to 4 is orange, yellow, and green. And then the green, blue, and purple starts pre-K, and it moves up from there. You're going to need a minimum of 2 pieces of evidence for each domain for every 9 weeks. You'll have a lot more than that in some areas. And then we'll have checkpoints. For our teacher effectiveness, how we're going to rate ourselves and assess ourselves, we're going to start using class. We're also going to have monthly coaching and monitoring, monthly reporting, continuous professional development, faculty meetings and data, um, communication with the Office of School Readiness, and local support and communication. So this is just a little bit about class, and it's a lot to go over. And like I said, don't worry about knowing everything yet, but the class observation is going to take the place of the Marzano evaluation. And this one is just really geared more towards the early childhood classroom and the early childhood teacher. It's looking to see, do you provide that emotional support for your students? Do you have a positive classroom environment or climate? What are your interactions with the students looking like? Do they trust you? Do you trust them? Are you offering them, quality feedback that extends their learning and helps scaffold, some of the skills that they're working on? Is there open-ended questioning? What does your behavior management plan look like? Do the students know the expectations? So that's what happens each month. A class trained observer, which I'm becoming trained in that as myself. It's 6 cycles that last about 20 minutes each. I watch and I try to remain, kind of inconspicuous. I record what I see. And then another 20-minute cycle starts over again. And then we talk about it after that. And it's going to talk about your strengths and how we can build on those strengths. So in conclusion, we're going to start implementing the Eckers and Sasers rating scales for quality, for the quality assessment. We're going to implement some peer coaching, mentoring, and class teacher assessment. We're going to implement Teaching Strategies Gold for assessing our students. And the most important thing is that our assessments are authentic, comprehensive, focused on the whole child, and do not halt the learning process. I'm going to be giving you a handout today so that you can start learning more about each of these things. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.